Delaney, my winter-loving, pumpkin-carving, cold-seeking friend. Welcome to the Singing Teachers Talk podcast. How are you and how is 2024 treating you so far?
I am good, thank you. And what an introduction. I don't think you could know me any better than that.
I'm just waiting for summer when we can again send each other "I'm dying" in the heat and little snowflakes and pumpkins to will ourselves back where we belong.
With questions of, are you hibernating as much as I am?
Absolutely.
No, I think, are we the only ones who don't like summer, maybe?
There must be more. There must be more. And listeners, if you're one of them, just know you're not alone.
Where are you?
Yes. When if last year is anything to go by, you're in for a treat, Claire, because 2023 was quite exciting for you, particularly as you were hired as a vocal coach for the ITV show Mamma Mia, I Have a Dream, a search for Sophie and Sky. And that was panelled by comedian Alan Carr, singer Jessie Ware, Frozen Samantha Barks, and Amber Riley, who made me absolutely hyperventilate when I saw her in Dreamgirls.
Oh, same. Wasn't she amazing?
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. But for listeners who may not have seen the show yet or are just catching up, can you explain how it was set up and what the format was and how it was a little bit different to other programs that we've seen in the past, like How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria and I'd Do Anything?
So previous shows that you would have seen had a live audience and you'd watch that every week and you'd phone in, and I think you'd be able to phone in for your favourites. But this one was different because we actually filmed it over the summer last year out in beautiful Corfu. And we did all of that prep work beforehand out there. And we had a live audience that came to the villa and we plucked them off the beach from Corfu. And we put them in the audience and said, here you go, some free entertainment for you. And then all of that then got shown on TV from October. And then we had the actual live final in December at the Novello Theatre. So it was quite a wait, I think, for the contestants, to go. We filmed it in sort of May, beginning of June time. And then they had to wait until October for it to be seen on the TV. So a little different, I think. But yeah, I think it worked. I think it worked beautifully. I don't know what Corfu would have been like if we'd filmed it in the winter. So I mean, I would have loved it.
Yeah, how was it, like spending all that time out there not being a particularly summer-loving person?
Hell. No, I'm joking. It was wonderful. And, I knew it was going to be out in Corfu. I didn't know what the job was when I went for it, but I started putting two and two together when they said it's going to be out in Corfu for 5 weeks. And in my head, I just went, it's Mamma Mia. I just knew it. But it was great. And, I don't think I ever want to eat feta cheese again. I think I maxed out when I was there. And I also managed to get heat stroke and ended up in hospital. Because, if you're going to be a ginger in the sun, you have to do it properly, I think. So that aside, and heat stroke aside, it was wonderful. So, I was combining my work and travel for the first time, really. I'd never really done that. I'd always stuck to the UK for travel. So, I mean, obviously I've had holidays and stuff, but I never got to combine that with work. So I milked it.
So how did the job actually come about for you?
So I was already a follower of the wonderful vocal coach, Fiona McDougall. That makes me sound like a bit of a stalker, but I promise I'm not. And it was so random. She'd posted a story on her Instagram saying, London vocal coaches, I need you. And I was living in Bristol at the time. And I thought, I'll go for it anyway. And then we ended up having a couple of exchanges and found that we clicked straight away. I feel like it's impossible not to click with Fiona anyway, but she then invited me to an interview/audition at the London Palladium, no less. And yeah, we just got on so well, and it was so quick, from that post that I'd seen it. I think it was like 3 a.m. I was doing my bit of doom scrolling through Instagram because I couldn't sleep. And then this popped up. And I just find like the most spontaneous jobs happen in that way. And yeah, I just thought I'd go for it, and it just all seemed to click into place.
What was the interview like? What did you have to do?
So I took one of my clients. She's a really good friend of mine as well, Steph. And I messaged her and I said, right, you know, this thing is happening. You got to come down. You got to take the day off work. She's going to kill me for this because she had to pull a sickie. It's all right. I'm not going to say your surname. And yeah, so she called him a sickie, and we both went down to London together. And I just had to demonstrate what I do. So, I'd already had a chat with Fiona in this kind of way to see if we got on well, because that's always really important if you're going to be working with somebody quite intensely as well. And as a vocal coach, we all have our different ways of doing things. So you have to make sure that you either understand each other's work and are happy to work in separate ways, or you work in a very, very similar way. So I think she just needed to make sure that that was going to be the case. So I had to run a lesson with Steph and showcase what I could do. And then it was just a really lovely informal chat afterwards. And I remember leaving the theatre going, even if I don't get that job, I really hope our paths cross again, because it was just such a great experience. And I mean, that theatre's beautiful anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. And an amazing opportunity for your student to get to sing at the London Palladium.
Oh, I know. I know. We both went for a coffee afterwards, so we both just sat there like, did that just happen?
So what did your role actually entail? And can you tell us a little bit about what the sessions were like? What sort of things were you working on with the contestants?
Yeah, so I was assistant vocal coach to Fiona because she was expecting her little baba at the time. So we just shared the weight of the coaching because there was so much to do. So we started off in London in the recording studios where we were recording all the openers for the show. And we were just grabbing them at every opportunity because there was so much to get through. So any little window that we had to grab them for some coaching, we did that. And we split that between ourselves. And I was watching what Fiona was doing so that, because I knew as soon as we got out to Corfu, she was going to be there for a few days. I think she was out there for 10 days altogether, maybe less. And I was going to be taking over, and I just wanted to make sure that the contestants had some consistency in their work as well. So I was kind of taking notes and taking recordings and things like that. And so we did all of that for about 8 days, I think, in April. And then when we actually got out to Corfu, we were just grabbing them for whatever we could, because they're out there doing, they're recording for openers, they're doing interviews, they're doing tasks that were on the program as well. So they were filming all of that. And when we were actually in the coaching with them, it was more a case of making sure their vocals were obviously staying in good nick, and keeping their confidence up. We were kind of there as a little confidant as well. You could see them sort of come into the coaching room and just hi, because they knew they just had a little bit of time to just work on something and work on little tricky moments within a song, and just kind of refining everything ready for the performance, and just making sure that they left that coaching room going, okay, that tricky bit, or this problem in my voice, that was sorted, so that they could go out there and deliver the best performance.
Bit of a spoiler alert. So Stevie and Tobias, they won the entire show.
How could you give it away, Alexa?
Yeah, sorry about that. But if you're late to the table, I mean, you're going to have to deal with that one.
Yeah.
And they're already in rehearsals, or maybe have even performed by the time this goes out. But let's just give a little bit of a shout out to the rest of the cast as well of the show. So who are you working with, and what do you want to say about them?
Do you know, this is going to sound so much of a cliche, but literally every single one of them was amazing to work with, and for very different reasons. You know, each one of them brought something so unique to the table. And as the show was going on, you know, and we were doing all the filming, and I knew what they were doing on a day-to-day basis. You know, they were learning choreography, they were learning new songs, they were switching partners, and again, all the interviews and box pops and everything that they had to do. And I was just in awe of them, because I just thought there is no way on this earth that you'd ever get me doing something like that, because it's just so much to take on. And for really, you know, all of them were so young as well. And just the stamina that they had, the confidence that they had, and just the overall attitude that they brought to the whole thing was just fantastic. And, you know, I'm like this with my clients anyway. Each one of them I love for very different reasons. And it's exactly the same with this one. You know, we all got quite close, because when you're working in that kind of atmosphere and in that short amount of time, everything's quite intense anyway. So we built up a lovely working relationship, and it's good to see them all doing something special now. You know, Maisie's studying in London School of Musical Theatre. I think Owen and Steph are working on something at the moment. I've seen a little thing on Instagram. I'm not entirely sure what they're doing, but of course Desmonda is out doing Aladdin and things like that. So they're all doing so well, and they all deserve it.
Watching it, I saw your lovely face pop up on screen a few times. So how did it feel for you to have a film crew in the room taking what you're doing and showing it, broadcasting it on TV?
Honestly, that part of it I dreaded, because I am such a high energy coach anyway. And, you know, I've got my own way of doing things. And whenever you're working one to one, it's a very private, intimate kind of setting. You know, it's a very vulnerable space. And then all of a sudden, when there's a camera crew there, you're very, very aware that all of a sudden it's not just you guys, that there are actually going to be quite a few people watching. And all of a sudden, it was like I'd forgotten everything I knew. And I was like, everyone's going to know I'm a fraud. I can't do this anymore. Or they're going to think I'm weird. You know. So obviously I made it all about me. But it, to be honest, it didn't take long for all of that to settle down. I think it was the first maybe 2 or 3 sessions when I was on my own, because by that time Fiona had gone home to look after little wee one. And yeah, being left on my own then with that, I thought, oh, okay, this is a whole new experience. But I just had to grab it with both hands and go, it is what it is. You know, not everyone's going to like what you do. You don't know how it's going to be edited. You don't know if you're even going to be seen. I was kind of hoping I wasn't going to be seen, but no, I didn't get away with that.
You have your own private practice, and you're also a singing tutor at Italia Conti Arts, which is where we met. Now, what did this ITV contract mean for these other commitments, and how did you manage that as a self-employed person?
Well, I think first off, a big shout out should go to Michael Vickers, our lovely boss at Italia Conti, because when I told him that this had come up and that I needed some time off, he was the most supportive and encouraging person. And, you know, I generally, before I had this conversation with him, I thought, I'm going to lose my job. You know, they're going to replace. And it was never on the table. And I just felt so supported by that. And I think that's so important when you're working for a company or a school like we do. And for my private clients, I still saw some of them online while I was out there. They were all really encouraging as well. I think they just wanted the gossip, to be honest. And when I was teaching them out there, I thought it was because they wanted to have a good sing and they wanted to keep their training going. But I think they just wanted to see the pool.
How has having this job impacted you as a singing teacher and vocal coach? Do you feel like it set you up for future work like this? Or is there anything else that you feel you've benefited mostly from it?
I mean, yeah, I'd love to do TV again, so if it has set that kind of thing up, that would be great. But in terms of how it's impacted me, I think it's just added another layer of credibility as a vocal coach, because I know you know this as well. It's such a tough industry. There's a lot of us out there, and it's a long, continuous process of pushing your ideas forward and demonstrating that you're the one to help and the one to trust in. So I think when things start mounting up on your CV in that kind of way, then people start becoming more aware of you, and more aware of you in that way of going, oh, okay, well, she's done this and she's done that. So maybe she'd be good for me. And I didn't realize, very early on in my career, how important those little milestones would be. Because even working at Italia Conti, that changed so many things for me. And now having this as well, it's just helped get my name out there a little bit more, which is tough in the sea of social media.
I'm just pressing the pause button on the podcast for a very brief moment to invite you to book your free BAST call. If you've been thinking about joining the BAST community through one of our courses, but you just don't know which option is the best for you, then why not book your free Zoom chat with our very own Kimberly George, who has all the answers. Head over to basttraining.com/book a call/ and click that big blue button. That's basttraining.com/book a call/. Now, where were we? For performers who are hoping to audition for Mamma Mia in the future, what qualities and abilities are required for the show?
So, as with any musical, storytelling is a must. Your ability to work with others, form a chemistry is a must. I know that was very important in the show as well, that we discovered the kind of chemistry that certain contestants may have with one another if they got cast together. Your vocals need to be able to endure 9 shows a week and deliver the same energy throughout. And it's such a fun show. And while I think you should always take the job seriously, I think a key element of this show is not to take yourself so seriously, and to see the joy that pops up in all of those moments within the story. Because, it's not Shakespeare, it's pure entertainment, and it's just joyous. And I think if you can pull those moments out in everything that you do, especially for Sky and Sophie, that's just going to make the biggest impact.
When the programme was aired, there were some questions from viewers about the use of vibrato, as previously it was understood that straight tone was desired in part for this show. Is that true? What would you say about that?
This is such a tricky question, right? Because I think vibrato is one of those things that always seems to fall into personal preference. I personally love a vibrato because I think it just adds color and a feeling of release in the voice. But at the same time, we also know that straight tone is preferred by a lot of people, and we hear it a lot in many productions. So as a coach, I always aim to teach both, so that my singers have choice. And I think for singers out there looking to do shows like this, I think it's important to develop all of those aspects in the voice. But those aspects that feel right to you, work for you, and feel authentic to you. And I think if you can develop both, if you can develop straight tone and vibrato and give yourself those options in the vocals, then go for it. But at the same time, don't bog yourself down with it either, because we all offer something different, and you'll end up working with those who like what you do. I think there's a place for everyone. And it does come down to preference of styles. You'll find your people, you'll have musical director that might be like, oh, I would like a bit of vibrato here, or I would like you to straight tone it. So in terms of your training, I think if you can cover those bases, then great. You can then relax a little bit more when it comes to working in the industry, that knowing that you can provide these things. But again, don't bog yourself down with it.
One of the contestants, Marcellus, he had a recurring throat infection during filming. And Jessie Ware made a comment after one of his performances saying that he'd spent all of his lives on saying that he had a sore throat. How can a singer compete in something like this whilst navigating ill health?
As someone who has struggled with recurring throat tension due to PTSD, actually, I can say that I too have come up against comments like this. And while they can seem unfair to some, it's also the nature of the business, right? It's a harsh reality to be confronted with the fact that you're always replaceable, and it weighs on so many singers' minds. And Jessie's comment wouldn't have been any different to a comment in the West End. And I think it was good actually for the audience to be able to see that these are the kind of things that we do actually come up against in the industry. But it's up to you as a singer to do what you can to look after yourself, to either maybe make the vocal choices that stop you from belting your head off and, popping a vocal cord out onto the floor. But you also have to know when to take the comment and do what you can to carry on, or let it go, stay in your lane and prioritize your health. So if you're unwell and it's recurring, you need to take that as a really big warning sign that maybe you need to stop and look after yourself. I've always been of the opinion that no job is worth sacrificing the longevity of your voice. Like, ask yourself, is this one job worth me potentially doing irreparable damage? Or should I take the time out to look after myself, maybe set some better habits and behaviors to improve where I can and come back stronger than ever? But it's tough though, right? Because the work is precarious and it's few and far between. But I know that if I was a director, I would want somebody to look after themselves. I wouldn't want them to push themselves to exhaustion or vocal damage for the sake of a show. I'd want them to prioritize health and value their health over everything else, because you are your business at the end of the day. And while it is a harsh reality that you are replaceable, you are replaceable. So, the show isn't going to break without you. So you don't have to put yourself through it. One of my mottos, this was a motto from my wonderful coach, which means a different thing. He always says push and regret. And he says push and regret in terms of pushing for a belt. But it's the same thing. If you push yourself, you're going to regret it potentially.
So what would your advice be to a singer who may be going to a drama school audition, a professional audition, any audition really, but they feel like, should I be telling the panel that I'm ill, or should I be reserving that for if they ask? Like, what would you say is the rule in inverted commas?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? And I don't doubt for a second that both of us have been in this situation many, 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 many times. But as the years have gone on, I prioritize my vocal health over everything. Because in my head, if I'm going to an audition and I'm not well, I'm doing a number of things. I'm potentially spreading whatever I've got to the panel and also to every other singer in the waiting room that may have other auditions and jobs coming up. Also, then I'm not demonstrating what I can do. So I'm wasting their time. I'm wasting my time. I'm also wasting my recovery time, or like increasing the length of my recovery time, which means that I'll be losing more work or potential work. If I'm trying to sing through a chest infection or a throat infection. I'm just going to be setting myself backwards. And I always tell my clients to prioritize their health, So in terms of whether you say anything, I think in an ideal scenario, if they can give you a different audition day, then amazing. But we know that that's not always the case. And I always tell my clients that sometimes in this industry, you're just going to have to chalk it up to experience. And it's not always going to go your way. And it's tough, but it's true. And you are going to be your best measure for that. You're going to know whether it's going to be worth it or not, and whether you're going to be able to deliver or not. So I always say, trust your gut. If your gut is saying, no, I really shouldn't go for this, then it's not worth it.
Some of the songs that were performed by the contestants were things like Luck Be a Lady from Guys and Dolls, Trustful by Pink, Somebody to Love from We Will Rock You, Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer, which I actually walked out of the wedding room to, which my husband won't remember.
Well, he will now.
Yeah, if he listens. Shivers by Ed Sheeran, Night Fever from Saturday Night Fever. What was the process of exploring such a variety of styles, and are they all applicable to Mamma Mia?
Well, musical theatre is such a beautiful mix of all of these styles, and it's a genre that can cater to so many people because of that. So if you like pop, you'll find plenty of musicals to suit. If you like jazz, swing, 50s rock and roll, orchestral, rap, you'll find it. I'm yet to see death metal, but my time will come. But as a performer, I think it's our job to be able to do as much of that as possible, to be as malleable as possible, so that you can increase your flow of work opportunities, but also just explore different avenues in yourself to become as fully rounded as you can be. I started out in opera, and I was always told that pop rock wasn't something that I could ever do. So then when I did actually start exploring it, I then discovered so many different things in myself. So while it's important to be able to showcase that to, a panel or an audience, it's also important to showcase that to yourself as well, because it's going to give you such a boost in confidence that you can cover all these things. And in terms of the show, it was important to be able to showcase that as well and show the audience that actually this is what a musical theatre performer has to think about, train for, and be able to demonstrate.
Outside of the show, though, what sort of audition material would singers benefit from taking? I've heard things like Steps, S Club 7, Liberty X, Donna Summer, that sort of cheesy range. Is that what you would say? Or can we take some of these songs from the show and maybe run with those?
Well, I think the key to any audition is to do your background development on the character that you're going for, because from that knowledge, you can pick the appropriate song, and that could be the lyrics that make sense for the character. Because I personally think that that's where the magic ingredient is. It shows everybody on that panel that you understand the character and you've thought about it, rather than just picking a song from your rep or, that you know really well and vocally shows you off, or just picking a bit of a bop, because you can't deny that Steps and Donna Summer are a bop. But there are plenty of songs out there that could do that, and then link up with the emotions and the situation of the character. So I always encourage clients to think on that and explore that. And I know that the music team for the Mamma Mia show on ITV, they were very careful with trying to choose the songs that would match what the characters of Sophie and Sky were thinking or going through. It's tough. It's not easy. You've got a lot of work to do, but I think that's where you'll find the best the best ingredient for your audition is to go for it from a character and storytelling point of view.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I remember when I was kind of discussing this topic with Vocology in Practice on one of their conferences, and about how we talk about audition material being in the style of the show, something similar. But actually, where does the acting through song feature? Because that could feature very, very heavily and do the job just as well. So I do feel like that part gets left a little bit.
I do too.
Behind. We are so grateful that you tune in each week to geek out with us. It's our mission here at the Singing Teachers Talk podcast to bring you informed discussions across a variety of topics in the hope that they will inspire your teaching and support your career in voice. Now, I have a big favour to ask of you. Pretty please, can we steal a little bit of your time in asking for a review? This not only helps us to improve the platform, but will help spread the word to others who might be in search of a community like the one you've helped us to build here. You can leave your review over at Apple Podcasts, by leaving a comment beneath your favourite video on our YouTube channel, or by emailing me your testimonial directly at alexa@basstraining.com. If you've been enjoying the podcast, we'd love to hear about it. And thank you again for all your support, Bass Brigade. Bastions? The Talkers. I'll work on the name. Someone with your achievements could easily be very boastful on their social media accounts as a way to kind of increase your perceived value, but that really isn't you. And you do celebrate all your students and all the things that you're doing, but you're also very good at keeping it real with funny videos and posts, including ones about how work gets a bit quiet over summer and when you do things wrong as a coach, or reflecting on things that you would have done differently, which is really quite a breath of fresh air. Why is it important for you to do this, and how has it impacted your business?
I think there's a lot of fluff on social media, and I know how seeing these, perfect these air bunnies here, or seeing these perfect singers and perfect coaches and, fitspiration and all that jazz. I know how that can affect me mentally. It can make me doubt myself and make me think that I should be doing what they're doing. And genuinely, I would hate it for people to come across me and my platform and think that it's just another inaccessible thing for them. My whole ethos as a teacher and as a coach is just to be one of the ones that helps people realize that they can do it, and that while their own path may look different to others, it's not something that anybody should tell them that they can't do. And, for my business, that just means that I get people, thankfully, walking through the door and their shoulders just immediately drop because they know that they're in a room with me and they're going to feel safe. They're going to have fun. They're going to be heard. And they know that it's going to be a collaborative process. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to make some weird noises unintentionally. But, and they're going to laugh at that. They're going to be like, oh my God, she does the same thing. And it's just important for me to be able to build authentic working relationships with people. And it starts these days with social media.
What's next for you then, Claire? What do you envision this year being like?
I am just plodding along, I'm just slowly building my life in London because I mean, I've been here since June now, but I still consider myself very new. And I'm building my client base here and online still. I'm still working at Italia Conti, which I absolutely love. And as with anything, it's just a case of me doing the work, resting while I can, and just seeing what this weird and wonderful world throws at me next. I mean, because there's no way I could have predicted what happened last year. So I don't know what's next. And I like that.
And if you could work on any other TV show, what would it be?
Oh, Good question. I don't know if you remember, there was a program a few years ago called Pop Star to Opera Star. You remember
Oh,
that one?
yeah.
I think I would have loved to have worked on that because I think that would have been a really big challenge. But I think it only lasted one series, which was a bit of a shame. I really enjoyed it. Bit of a guilty pleasure. But if I was going to work on a show now, is this a bit of self-promotion for me? I'm gonna take it. I would probably want to work on The Voice because I love the whole pop rock thing. Because like I said earlier, I started out as an opera singer and I was always told that singing pop or musical theatre was really bad for you, and quite the rebel in me. But I've definitely veered back towards the pop rock side of things because I just think that exploration of styles is one of my favorite things to do. And I love being able to show my clients that they can use everything they know, whether that's operatic technique or screamo metal, and they could just merge it all and develop choices to create something unique. And I feel like working on something like The Voice, you get the chance to play and explore with voices like that. And again, it's such a high pressure kind of show that I I personally love that thing in my job where I get to help them feel more confident and more settled and just kind of nurture and look after them a little bit. So yeah, a show like that would be great where I get to do that again.
Earlier, you said that you made the connection to this job through doom scrolling. And it's actually quite refreshing to hear that it wasn't because you already had a contact there, that it came from something very organic. What would be your advice to teachers who would love to have an opportunity like you've had with ITV's Mamma Mia? How do they get into the room?
My best advice, and this would be for performers as well, is just be cheeky and ask. Because the worst that anybody can say is no. And not everybody will say no. There are so many people out there who love to help, love to pass on knowledge. So just ask and see what doors open up for you, because I think you'll be surprised. And don't just network to see what others can do for you. Take that time to form a good relationship, get to know the person that you're with, and, you know, treat them as you would want to be treated yourself. It's an industry that can feel so false. But I think the more you just connect with people, regardless of whether you think that they can actually do something for you or not, the more approachable and employable you'll be. And actually, the more you'll enjoy it as well. People will want to work with you and people will want to help you and say yes to you. So you've just kind of got to take the bull by the horns, take the bull by the horns and just be cheeky and ask. And always take that thing of, that motto has stuck with me for life, which is the worst that anybody can say is no. So if I'm already prepared for no, anything else is a bonus.
Well, what a lovely thing to round up on. Claire Delaney, it's been such a delight. Where can listeners find out more about you and get in touch?
Well, it's been a delight for me. Thank you so much for asking me to do this. And like I said to you at the start before we came on, this is the first podcast that I've ever done. And I'm so glad that it's this one, because I've got to say, Alexa, I'm a massive fan of this podcast. I always listen to it. I don't think I've told you that before, because again, that might come across as a bit stalkerish, but there we go. That's where we are.
Thank you.
But yeah, so people can pop along to my Instagram. It is Claire, if I remember this right, claire.delaney.coach, where they'll see me trying to look really professional and posting pictures of my dog and endless cups of coffee. And they can also visit my website, delaneycoaching.com, and they can contact me through there as well if they want to book any sessions. And I'm trying to be down with the kids. I'm trying to be on TikTok. I know, check me. And my handle for that, I think, is Claire_the vocal coach, like I'm the only one or something. But yeah, that's where it can find me.
Amazing. Claire, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.